Courtier City Expats Club is a non-profit social organisation, and our speakers are volunteers. The club as such assumes no responsibility or liability for the professional reputation of or the quality of services provided by the speaker today.
Yes, we're all getting older. And associated biochemical and the behavioural changes and discuss natural options that people have to reduce their chances of having these debilitating diseases. He's taught at university for the past 40 years and teaches a course in biological aspects of human sexuality. The doctor is married with 9 children, still has 4 at home, and 6 that still need money. That's a common complaint, isn't it? I'm sure we all can recognise that. Welcome to Dr. Mallory.
Thank you. You want me on stage? I know I'm not tall, so I have to get up on stage here. I'm not afraid of heights, so we're good. Anyway, I just want to thank everybody for inviting me here, and thank Ren for helping me sort of edit my little chat here. And the reason I'm here is last year I was just visiting here with a friend of mine, Ken Troche, who's a member here. And there was a gentleman talking about some medical issue, and I had some work I've been doing with Khon Kaen University up in Khon Kaen, northeastern Thailand, on human liver fluke infection. And Ken, my friend, said, well, hey Mallory, why don't you give a talk on liver fluke infection? And I looked around the room here, and I thought, nobody's eating raw fish or fermented fish sauce, so it's probably a non-topic as far as you guys are concerned. And then another friend who works here, or is in part of the membership, Jack Lanker, who's now in Florida, said, well, you know, prostates are pretty, everybody's got a large prostate here, so maybe that's a good one. So that's what I've sort of done. So I'm not a medical, I'm a PhD, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm actually a wildlife management specialist, so I work on wolves and bears and moose and deer and big stuff in Canada. My university is in the northern part of Ontario. And, but I do teach this course on biological aspects of human sexuality, so I'm always trying to keep up on sex and lust. My students call the course Sex and Lust. So anyway, we'll just start. So if you Googly stuff, if you take a look at you Googly age and testosterone, this is the type of graph that you're going to find. So from the age of about 30 in males, the testosterone levels start to decline. Of course, testosterone is the primary male hormone that influences your genitalia, sex and lust and libido and all those other magic things, right? So as testosterone declines throughout the system over time, and I'm 73, so I'm way down there at that end, there's issues around reproduction and having kids and just enjoying sex and so on, things like that. And over a daily circadian cycle, the testosterone, it has a peak around 4:30 to 5 o'clock in the morning. So that's the time you need to get lucky, guys, and Mr. Happy's going to work much better at that time of the day, rather than late at night after you've had 10 beers and 10 shots of whatever you drink. So there is this circadian rhythm or daily rhythm associated with testosterone. And again, with low testosterone levels, there's these types of problems that may occur: depression, fatigue, weakness, loss of sex drive, hair loss, weight gain, irritability. I've been grumpy for years, decreased bone density, shrinking muscles, and so on. So there's all these possibilities as testosterone declines that you're going to have some problems in one direction or another in some of these sorts of things. Now, women also produce testosterone, okay, and they produce androgens, which is a male group of hormones. And so you know, that they produce these sorts of things from their adrenal glands and indeed from the ovaries. Now, the amount they produce is much, much lower than in males. But they, you know, these hormones affect libido, which is one of those fancy words for general horniness syndrome, right? So, you know, with low androgen levels in females, sex desire, pleasure, and the incidence of sex is in decline as well. Okay, so these male-ish hormones, in fact, are important for both genders that we have out there. So we have some possible options as far as trying to resolve testosterone loss, and one of them is antibiotic steroids. Okay, so there's our synthetic variations of the male hormone. Now, most of these antibiotic steroids are really they're very powerful, like they're much, much higher sort of impact on your body than sort of natural production of testosterone. And these are just some of the common names, deer juice and so on. I think it was all the bodybuilders put together these things. And again, if you have improved physical appearance, these are sort of things that antibiotic steroids have been able to do or reported to do, increase muscle mass, increase strength and endurance. You can train longer if you're into training, boost sports performance, faster recuperation. And they actually can increase your sex drive, initially your primary sexual characteristics. So this is me on the left here. There's Arnie over there on the other side. So, you know, if you have the urge, you know, you can take these antibiotic steroids and you get bloody well beautiful, right? You know, so here we go, there we are. So, now, antibiotic steroids have been in for around a long time, and it has a number, if you use too much, it can really cause some significant problems. So short-term abuse of antibiotics, or just, you know, if you don't get the right dosage, and you probably need a medical doctor to say, you know, you're this size, you need this amount of hormone, it has a number of mental problems that are created, paranoia, jealousy, extreme irritability, delusion, false beliefs, whatever that is. I thought we all had false beliefs. We always thought we were Superman, right? But we're not. And impaired judgment. So these are the things that short-term impacts of antibiotic steroids. And then there's permanent and long-term impacts, kidney problems, liver damage, enlarged heart, blood vessel pressure, and cholesterol, and increased risk of stroke and heart attack. And these are even in young people. So antibiotic steroids, you really have to sort of have the right dosage and so on. Again, in men, one of the big things you don't want is shrinking testes, right guys? Are you into that? Shrinking testes. So this is one of the things, so this is a common thing in many of the bodybuilders. Decreased sperm count, baldness, development of breast, and increased risk of prostate cancer. So again, the antibiotic steroid option is there, but it needs to be taken with a bit of, you know, have to be careful. Now in women, we get facial growth with antibiotic steroids. We have lots of female bodybuilders now, and changes in menstrual cycle, enlarged clitoris, development, deeper voice. And in teens, it very often stunts their growth if they're on antibiotic steroids. It reduces their height and so on if they're taking it before they finish growing. So there's a lot of sort of side effects or problems that are associated with this. So the question is, you know, clearly natural, you know, testosterone androgen boosters would be safer if you produce your own. And things that have been shown to increase your testosterone are ejaculation, abstinence, thinking about sex, having sex, watching pornography. And studies have shown that males can increase their testosterone levels by 100% and by 80% just by watching pornography. And I've sort of put this in because we have, you know, probably most of us here have grown up with this Judeo-Christian background of Europe where, right according to the early books of the Bible and everything, you know, sex is bad, sex is dirty, pornography is bad, and so on. So if I watch a YouTube thing on how to fix my car, and I learn how to fix my car, they call it education, right? But if I watch a pornography thing on a couple having sex and maybe I learn some techniques there, that's called pornography negative, right? And it's really interesting when I compare, my wife's Thai and I've been married 10 years, we got a bunch of kids, but it's really interesting when I compare their culture and our culture from Western European origin, because if you think of our word for sex, if you think of the word fuck, it's a negative, like, you know, F you, F this, F that, and things like that. So it's all negative. But then if you, in Thailand, the sort of Buddhist mantra is that sex is just another one of those body functions, like walking, talking, and squawking. And so, you know, they say boom boom. Now that's a positive word, right? Boom boom's positive, right? So you can't tell someone to boom boom off. You try, but you know, they're gonna just laugh you out of the house, right? So we have really major cultural differences about this, and of course, the pornography thing, people say, well, that's a really negative thing, you shouldn't be doing that, it's an issue. But increasingly the research says it is just part, you know, it's a good thing. It actually maintains the reproductive system by increasing your testosterone levels and keeps you going, and that's sort of one of my main things today. So anyway, if you avoid sex for here up to 5 days, you actually can increase the testosterone level and have a happier day. And again, if you go pornography and testosterone, and these are just a couple of papers, you know, so this one here, people looked at visual stimulation, sexual visual stimulation and T levels in 44 males. It's a swingers club, so it's not really a normal cross-section of society, but testosterone levels increased by 11%. I figure those guys' testosterone levels are already pretty damn high, so 11% is not bad on top of whatever they already had. This other study in 1985 increased by 35%, just watching pornography, sexual explicit films, and it increased 5 minutes to an hour and a bit at the end of the film, and again, it increased the individual's motivation, competitiveness, decreased exhaustion, and so on. So positive stuff watching pornography here. And other studies have shown that testosterone levels in males and watching pornography have increased by 100%, and in ladies by 80%. So these androgens are directly associated with female and male libido, like, you know, interest in sex and frequency of sex. And again, the data says that if you don't use it, you lose it. So it's really important to do that. So this is one of the early pornographic shots. This was dug at a Pompeii in Italy on some wall of some brothel or something like that. So this is about 2,000 years old, you know. So you got to start somewhere. So I guess this is where pornography really started. And then if you could look at the prostate gland. So the prostate gland, there's your friendly local prostate gland. It's about the size of a chestnut. It's just below your urinary bladder. It secretes a milky substance, semen, and this increases the sperm mobility and viability. And it has many duct opens in it and enlarges with age. So this is normal, and this is an enlarged prostate. Okay, so when you get your annual checkup, and then Doctor Who puts his finger up your butt to check your tits, ladies don't have this problem, check your prostate out, and he's basically looking to see these different changes that occur in your gland. And again, then you can do a PSA test or other things that might say you've got prostate cancer or you don't have prostate cancer. So again, this is just changes in prostate enlargement with age. So you can see it's quite low, but it continues to grow right up until you're, you know, in your 80s and 90s. And those guys at 100, I'm not sure about those guys, but how many guys are 100 here? That's a few. So the prostate gland is increasingly getting larger. And again, as it gets larger, this increases the chances that there will be, you can get cancer or have some other problems like that. So again, here's some data from North America, right up here, where I'm from. And here's South Central and East Asia. Okay, so here we have the rate of prostate cancer per 100,000 people. And you can see in these countries, the Western European origin, that the prostate cancer is massively high compared to here in this area of Thailand and Laos and this sort of area, okay? So there's a lot of variability globally on different countries. And this, again, you know, they're still not sure exactly what it is, but there's some correlations with changes in diet as well as sexual frequency. So here's some Canadian data, prostate cancer in Canada. So in 1917 or 2017, we got 300,000 men diagnosed. 21 were of all the new cases of cancer. Prostate cancer is the #1 cancer in males, #1, okay? 4,000 plus died, that's 10%. 58 Canadian males diagnosed every day. 11 Canadian males die every day. 1 in 7 Canadian males will get prostate cancer over their lifetime, okay? So that's Canada. We got about 36 million people in Canada. If you think of it, well, with our 7 billion people, going to 9 billion according to the statisticians, the demographers, it's really a massive impact. Okay, so this is data from Britain, or the New England, actually New England, so it's America. And you can see these are the new cases increasing over time, and these are the number of dying. So there is some benefit. Seems to be a flat lining there for the actual number of dying, but the actual incidence being, is going up and up and up. Now, breast cancer, and also in women, in Canadian data here, we have 2017, so 26,300 women were diagnosed with breast cancer, 25% of all cancers in women. Breast cancer is #1 cancer in ladies, okay? It's the #1 cancer, and 5,000 women die, that's 13%. This is in 1 year. 72 women are diagnosed with breast cancer every day. 14 Canadian women die every day. 1 in 8 Canadian women will get breast cancer over their lifetime, okay? So again, you know, we have to think about how can are there factors that can reduce the chances in males of prostate cancer and also in females breast cancer. So again, the research suggests that they've done some research. Again, this was in Canada. They interviewed a whole bunch of guys, and the research suggests that men who said, this was a survey, so you know, males, we always brag or don't brag or whatever. So it's a survey, so the data isn't perfect or anything. But men who said they had never had sexual intercourse were twice as likely to be diagnosed with breast cancer. So clearly, sexual activity is a really important factor influencing the incidence of breast cancer. Men who slept with more than 20 women were not only markedly less able to get prostate cancer, but experienced a 19% reduction in the really aggressive types of cancer. Now, I have a friend who had a really aggressive type of prostate cancer, and they had to cut out the entire prostate and cut all the nerves associated with the prostate. So he can no longer get Mr. Happy up at all. The nerves are not in place at all. So that's aggressive type. I had another friend who had a small cancerous lobe on his prostate, and they actually were able to nuke it with radiation, and he's fine. So again, catching it early is a really important thing. And finally, this is just a questionnaire. So again, 3,000 some odd Canadian guys found that 28% drop in the odds of one day being diagnosed with prostate cancer. And that, in this case, these guys are saying they slept with 20 different ladies, right? But when they analyzed the data further, they found it's not the number of partners you have that's important, it's actually the ejaculation frequency. So it's clearing the prostate, because the prostate produces the semen, that's the fluid that the spermatozoa survive in during ejaculation, and it's really ejaculation frequency that's important, okay? So this is the key factor, ejaculation frequency. Female libido and genital system function is also directly related to these androgen levels, and mainly originating from the ovaries and adrenal glands, and this will sustain by increased levels as well. And the other interesting thing is menopause. 30, 40 years ago, the average age for female menopause was 45 years of age. Now it's 51, so it's increasing. And so women are having, postponing reproduction. I'm a major cause of that as I teach post-secondary education. So as more and more girls go into university and college, and get an education, they're postponing reproduction. We are one of the major contraceptive areas of the world, or causes of the world, other than other types of things like the pill and things like that. So as you postpone reproduction, then they're having their children later if they're having kids, and then their selection, natural selection, will select for individuals having menopause later and later. There seems to be a general relationship there. Okay, so here's my conclusions, and you can agree or not, is that you should watch, pornography with your partner a few times a week. This will stimulate the natural protection of testosterone and androgens. That keeps Mr. happy and hot and juicy functional. That's really important. Have sex at least once a week, and that will reduce your chances of prostate cancer by about 40%. And it will also reduce the chances of breast cancer significantly, and maybe, if you're lucky, you get a beautiful family. So here's some other conclusions. Breast cancer is least in women who enjoy sex, partner up, have children, and breastfeed their children for longer periods of time. That data is real. Also, having children when you're younger rather than older reduces the chance of breast cancer. And the highest rates of breast cancer are found in nuns who are celibate and basically they're not using the reproductive system, okay? And again, natural selection will select for, use it or lose it type of function. So again, that's exactly what's happening. So I think most of you guys are doing okay, right? You're doing okay? So again, the message of the day here is use it or lose it. This is the same for your brain, or in relation to dementia or your muscles. I mean, I got these great muscles, picture. And again, if you use these systems that have evolved over millions of years, they will basically remain functional and reduce your chances of problems. Now, here's some other factors. This is heart disease and cancer, and these are unrefined plant foods. So you can see here, the red is the highest frequency of heart disease and cancer, and you can see that here's the States, here's Hungary, Belgium, so on, Western European countries, and here's Thailand, way down here, Laos down here. And one of the big correlates here is unrefined plant foods. And as I was telling the people at my table here, my wife goes out and she pulls some vine off the wall around my house and she sticks it in her, right? So I made it in rice, and then she goes and gets some blue flowers out of the bush and fires those into my rice and then other things like that. So in this part of the world, we're eating a lot more vegetation, if you will, than sort of processed food and meat and things like that. So again, if you look at this data, I mean here, this data is a significant factor. Food is a significant factor, as Jan has suggested earlier when I chatted with him. So again, if you're lucky and you keep Mr. Happy going and everything, you might end up with a beautiful family like I have. But as I was told earlier, I'm still paying for 6 of them, so there we go. Anyway, thank you very much. If there's any questions,